Ooh, this is gonna be fun to try and pick up. So as you may see, my attempt in the month of February to not buy a lot of books did not go as well as I was hoping. I mean, it could have been worse, but I mean, it didn't go well. We'll just leave it at that. Now, to be fair, some of these are arcs, but also, to be honest, most of them are not arcs, so I don't really have much of defense. Hey everyone, my name is Sam, and thanks for checking out this video. Make sure to hit the subscribe button down below, along with the little notification bell, and give the video a thumbs up. Now, these are in no particular order, but actually, in my defense that I forgot, some of these were pre-ordered, so I spent the money several months ago. Which, I mean, actually, that's not the defense that I thought it was. So in February, I picked up The Queen's Rising by Rebecca Ross. This, I believe, was a pre-order or bought, like, on the day of its release. I know nothing about it, and I don't plan on it. I'm going in pretty blind. I'm just so curious about this. It's been, like, super hyped by a ton of people that I know, and I kept, like, wanting to buy it and then not buy it, then buy it, then not buy it, and I was like, meh, I'm gonna buy it. So I ended up buying it, and hopefully I will really enjoy it, because I love this cover. All the details on the outside are so pretty. I also picked up A Society of Wishes by Elise Kova and Lynn Larch. This is the first book in the Wishes Quartet, I believe it's called. It is the new urban fantasy by Elise Kova, who is a favorite author of mine. I know there is like kind of a tech female genius, and there's a corruptish kind of government and conspiracy, and like she's a hacker for hire and things go haywire. That's all I know. And hopefully I can get to it in March. It wasn't originally on my TBR, but I found out after that the author is doing a readathon this month, so hopefully I can try and do that, because the sequel, book number 2, comes out in April, I believe, so I want to be all caught up on this series at least, because I'm already still behind on Air Awakened series by her, so hopefully I can get to this soon. At the very beginning of the month, on my trip to Toronto, I picked up The Reader while at the bookstore at an author signing by Tracy Chee. I've actually read this book since, and I absolutely loved it. I'm going to be picking up the sequel as soon as it comes out in paperback. It's got an awesome cover, and the book's just amazing. It's in this world where books aren't a thing, and like this person, her parents, die trying to protect and hide this book that she comes into possession of, and she doesn't exactly know what it is. So it's this whole really weird world where there's like prophecies and like the power of books, and there's a little bit of magic and all this kind of chaos going on. It's really good. I would highly recommend it. I very happily received the ARC, which was an ARC, for Children of Blood and Bone by Tomi Adeyemi. This is it's easily, I would say, the most anticipated book of 2018 for the vast majority, at least, of the YA community. Oh my god, a wonderful book. And the kind of blurb about it kind of perfectly summarizes it. They killed my mother, they took our magic, they tried to bury us, and now we rise. So our main character, Zelly, I think that's how you say it, has kind of dormant powers, essentially, but she lives in this world where people with those powers, and even dormant, are heavily taxed, and her family is kind of poor. Her mother was killed while they were kind of putting down all these people with powers, and he took away essentially what was giving them their powers, but she comes into possession, and things go into chaos, and there's all these magical things happening, and there's an adventure, and you go to the desert, and then there's like a pirating duel, and there's forest, and there's jungle, and there's so many different points of views, and it's so good. I could not highly recommend it enough. It comes out in March, actually, this month too. It's probably out actually by the time I post this video, so if you haven't picked it up yet, pick it up. I ran through this 600-page book in like 3 days while working, so highly recommend this book. If you somehow haven't heard of it, I don't know what to do with you, okay? In order to join a group read in the TBR and Beyond book group, I picked up a copy of The Cruel Prince by Holly Black. I tried to get it through my library, but there was just a massive hold list for it, and not enough copies to get it to me fast enough. So I ended up picking it up, because it was one of the few books my bookstore actually had in stock. So I picked it up. I didn't end up totally loving this book, however, I am going to give it a reread, to give it another shot in a couple months-ish, probably sometime before the sequel comes out. But it is a world where our main characters are 3 sisters. They all have kind of slightly different personalities. There's kind of the timid, quiet one, the very outspoken kind of rebel, and then there's kind of the girl in between. And we find out very quickly at the beginning that the very headstrong kind of rebel girl is actually the offspring of her mother and a fairy, and her mother ran away from the fairy and kind of hid this, and they get drawn into the magical fairy world, where they are at the bottom of the hierarchy totem pole, which is very interesting, and there's lots of, like, not political, but, like, power maneuvering and that kind of stuff in it. But yeah. I also kind of forgot that I pre-ordered this, but I picked up a copy of Bygone Badasses by Mackenzie Lee, 52 Forgotten Women Who Changed the World. I haven't actually gotten a chance to read this yet, and I honestly don't know when I will. However, it's just like kind of small like blurbs about certain people. I feel like this is a good one to just pick up and like fill space between books. I don't know what I'm going to do with it yet though, but I really love these kinds of books. I have all like the 50 Women in History kind of books too, so I'm really, really excited to add this to my collection and keep collecting because I love learning about all these cool women who did some really, really cool badass stuff. I very happily picked up a copy of Shatter by April Lynn Pike. This is the sequel to Glitter. I don't want to know tons about the summary, but the end of Glitter ends with a very big like jaw-dropping like, oh my god, what? So I don't really want to like give too much away, but like, you know, marrying sociopathic king and like a tech Marie Antoinette French Revolution-y kind of situation. It's weird, I'll give it, but it's really, really interesting, and there's like drug trade going on within it, and our main character is involved in it, and it's super, super interesting. I also picked up a copy of Honor Among Thieves by Rachel Kane and Anne Aguirre. I just realized how many books are now starting to have two authors. But our main characters had a little bit of a rough life in and out of like rehab and like detention centers in New Detroit, and for whatever reason, I don't know, she gets picked by the alien kind of overlords, I guess, to go searching like the outer reaches of the earth. Don't know much beyond that. Hopefully I'll find out this month because it's on my March TBR. I picked up Daughter of the Siren Queen by Trisha Levenseller. I'm actually super curious to read this. I got the ARC several months ago and sent it out to a friend. I actually don't know if I'll ever get that ARC back, but I sent it out to a friend. I feel like the ARC was like at least 100 pages longer, I think, than this. So I'm really curious to give this a reread to see how different it is or what was changed and all that stuff. But this is our sequel to Daughter of the Pirate King, and we meet Alassa's crew in this, and you see what's going on between her and Reedon, and as someone who read the ARC, it's immensely amusing to watch her try and grapple with her feelings. It is so, it's Alassa. I mean, it's Alassa. I mean, like, sassy Jack Sparrow, but she's a female, and lots of sexual tension and lots of banter. I also, on a total whim, picked up Gunslinger Girl by Lindsay Ellie. I honestly just picked this up because of the James Patterson Presents aspect of it, but our main character is, you know, she has guns and a really good shot, I guess, and for some reason, I think, like, her parents die or something, and she goes to, like, settle new land, and she goes there and finds a lot of, like, corruption, I guess, within, like, the new area that she ends up getting involved in and trying to, like, fix. So I'm really curious to give this one a go. I've heard like pretty positive things from the people who have read it though. So I'm really excited to try this one. I also picked up an ARC of The Heart Forger by Rin Chipeco. I got this through work actually, and I haven't actually read The Bone Witch yet, so I don't want to read the summary all that much. I plan on reading The Bone Witch this month, so hopefully if I enjoy it, I can get to this arc pretty soon. I really do hope I like it, because I love the cover, and I like all the design, like the swirls in the beginning of all the chapters and everything like that. So I'm really, really hopeful that I like The Bone Witch and can get to this one maybe in April. I also received an arc through work of The Queens of Innislear by Tessa Grattan. It's a King Lear retelling, and I was super hyped to read this. It was actually, I think, one of my most anticipated of 2018. However, I don't actually know if I'm going to get around to reading this now. The author was actually named as someone who was sexually harassing people in the big, like, school library journal article in the comment section, and several bystanders kind of confirmed it. So I'm not too sure if I actually want to get back into this one, but I have to figure out what I want to do with it then in that case. Why can't people just be all good to each other? And the last book that I picked up this month is probably a book very few people have heard of, Kings of the Wild by Nicholas Eames. I actually met this author at a signing and got him to sign it. He's a Canadian author as well. I assume. He's in Canada for a signing. Very few authors do that if they're not Canadian. But I know that there's like a ragtag team of like mercenaries that used to be like the head of like, they were like the best. And they've kind of like, the backstory calls them like, they've all grown apart, grown old, fat, and drunk. And then one of their friends shows up and needs help that, you know, probably not the most logical thing to do and go in and get involved into, but they decide to do it. So I'm really, really curious to give this one a go. I know it's a debut as well, but he was inspired by, what's his name? One of those rock guitarists that I'm really bad at remembering the name of. something Richards? Is that a... Oh, I'll find the cover. Whoever that person is that I'm totally blanking on the name of right now, he used that to inspire him to write this. So I'm really, really curious about this. It just sounded so interesting, and the way he talked at the signing really intrigued me. So I decided to pick up a copy. I don't know if it's the sequel or his second book. He said he had finished writing it, so hopefully it'll be coming out pretty soon. So I'm really, really excited to give this one a go. Love supporting Canadian and debut authors, and it sounds just like really, really random and interesting and like out of the place. And I know that one of my favorite authors, Sebastian de Castell, this dude here actually was the one that helped him get published. So I have even more faith in it if Sebastian de Castell approved, then I'm really excited to give this one a go. Now, I can happily say that I hauled less books. No, I read more books than I hauled, so I feel like that's a step in the right direction for me. But those are all the books that I hauled in February. I'm going to try and be better in March, and I'd like to say I'm not going to buy any books, but I feel like that's almost jinxing myself. So I will try to buy as few books as possible. We'll see how that goes. But make sure to check the description box down below for links to all of the Goodreads pages of all those books, as well as links to all of my social media. If you follow me, I will follow you back.